I thought training for TEDx would make me a better speaker. Instead, it rewired my relationship with self-doubt. And if you've ever held yourself back, if you have ever waited to feel confident before taking the leap, this might be the thing that sets you free. Because what surprised me most is that confidence wasn't something that I added. It was something that I stopped negotiating with. So today, I want to walk you through the 6 biggest confidence lessons that came out of 6 months of TEDx training and preparation. And these are very clear, very practical tips that you can apply to your own life, whether that's work, relationships, or the next chapter that you know you're meant to step into. So let's get straight into it. So here's the first thing that TEDx training taught me. Confidence is not the starting point. Commitment is. I think a lot of us are waiting to feel confident before we act, before we speak up, before we put ourselves out there, before we make the move. But TEDx doesn't ask you, do you feel ready? It asks, are you willing to commit? Once I said yes, the decision was made. The timeline was real. The reps were non-negotiable. And something interesting happened. I didn't suddenly feel confident, but I started behaving like someone who took herself seriously. I trained like a speaker before I believed I was one. And this matters because psychologically, confidence is a lagging indicator. It comes after repeated evidence, not before it. There's a lot of research around identity-based behavior that shows this. When you act from identity, I'm the kind of person who shows up, your brain catches up later, not the other way around. So if you're waiting for confidence to arrive before you begin, this is your permission slip. You don't need to feel confident to commit. You need to commit long enough for confidence to be earned. Because if confidence were a prerequisite, honestly, no one would ever do anything brave. Ever. Okay, let's move on to lesson number 2, which is that self-doubt doesn't disappear. It loses authority. This was a big one for me, and honestly, a relief. Training and preparing for TEDx didn't magically eliminate self-doubt, didn't turn me into someone who never questioned herself. Self-doubt still showed up. It just stopped being in charge. Before this process, self-doubt had a lot of authority in my life. If it showed up, I listened, I hesitated, I softened, I second-guessed. Once I was in training for this talk, something shifted. The schedule didn't care how I felt. The reps didn't pause because I was uncertain. The work continued whether I felt confident or not. And slowly, my relationship with self-doubt changed. It went from decision maker to background noise. And this is important because a lot of people think that confidence means that you never doubt yourself. That's not true. Confidence is knowing the doubt doesn't get a vote. There's good cognitive science behind this, by the way. Thoughts aren't commands. Emotions aren't instructions. They're information, sometimes useful, sometimes outdated. What builds confidence is learning that you can act with doubt present and nothing bad happens. In fact, the opposite happens. Each time that you move forward anyway, your nervous system learns, oh, we can do this. And that's when confidence starts to grow. So if you're waiting for self-doubt to disappear before you act, let me reframe this for you. Self-doubt isn't the problem. Letting it run the meeting is. Okay, next, lesson number 3 is to stop self-monitoring and start being present. This one surprised me the most. I always thought that confidence was about doing more energy, more warmth, more engagement. But what TEDx training actually revealed was the opposite. A lot of what we call lack of confidence is really just over-monitoring. Watching yourself while you're speaking, checking how you're being received, adjusting in real time to manage other people's reactions. I did this for years, always observing myself, from the outside, constantly monitoring how I was being perceived and filling awkward silences and softening edges before anyone even asked me to. Never being truly present to what was actually happening and where I actually was. But when I started training seriously for this talk, that had to go. I had to learn how to stand still, how to slow down, how to finish a sentence and let it land. And at first it felt really uncomfortable, almost exposed. But here's what's fascinating. The moment that I stopped watching myself perform, I became more present. And presence reads as confidence. There's solid performance psychology behind this. Excessive self-monitoring actually reduces fluency and authority. Your brain can't fully access what it knows when part of it is busy checking the room. The most confident speakers aren't thinking, how am I doing? They're thinking, what am I here to say? And this isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being anchored. So if you want to feel more confident, try this. Do less. Interfere less. Trust that you don't need to manage the moment for it to work. Because confidence isn't adding something new, it's removing what blocks your natural presence. Turns out confidence isn't doing more, it's interfering less. And by the way, if you're curious and want to watch my actual TEDx talk, I will link it up here and below once it's live on the TED YouTube channel. Okay, so with the next lesson, number 4, we're going to talk about where a lot of confidence advice goes wrong. We're told to feel confident, to psych ourselves up, to wait for motivation as the signal that we're ready to go. But preparing for TEDx made one thing very clear. Confidence doesn't come from motivation. It comes from structure. I didn't rehearse when I felt inspired. I rehearsed because it was on the calendar. There were fixed times and clear standards and very specific reps. And on many days, I didn't feel particularly confident or motivated. I just showed up anyway. That's not a personality trait, that's a system. And psychologically, this matters. So here's the thing. Motivation is unreliable. It fluctuates with mood, energy, hormones, stress, and life. Structure, on the other hand, creates safety. Your nervous system learns, we know what to do here. That's when confidence starts to settle in, not as excitement, but as steadiness. Confident people don't trust motivation, they trust their systems. They stop asking, do I feel like this today? And start asking, what's the next piece I need to work on? So lesson number 4 is that confidence is built with structure, not motivation. And before I go on, let me just say this because it matters. If this way of thinking about confidence is resonating, you'll probably love the deeper work that I do around identity and reinvention. I have linked a free resource below that helps you to step into who you're becoming, not through hype, but through alignment and structure. And if you want more conversations like this, grounded, practical, no fluff, then make sure you're subscribed. Okay, back to it. Let's move on to lesson number 5. And this one might be the most important lesson of all. For years, I thought confidence was about mindset, about believing the right things and saying the right affirmations. But TEDx training taught me something much more grounded. Confidence grows out of self-trust. And self-trust is built one way, by keeping promises to yourself. Every time that I said I would rehearse and did, every time that I said I would refine a section and followed through, every time that I showed up prepared, even when no one was watching, something shifted internally. Not dramatically, but quietly. My brain started to believe me. There's a concept in psychology called self-efficacy, and it's often misunderstood. Self-efficacy isn't optimism. It's not positive thinking. It's not convincing yourself you can do something. It's your brain's belief that you're capable because you've proven it before. Your nervous system is constantly asking one question based on past experience: can I trust this person? And it doesn't answer that question with affirmations. It answers it with evidence. Did you show up when you said you would? Did you follow through when it was uncomfortable? Did you keep going even when no one was watching? That's what builds self-efficacy, which is why your nervous system doesn't respond to hype. It responds to proof. And proof comes from behavior. This is also why affirmations alone often fall flat. Your brain isn't impressed by words that you say to yourself. It's impressed by actions you take on your own behalf. Every time that you follow through, your brain learns, oh, we can trust her. And that quiet trust, that's what confidence is made of. So if you want to build confidence, ask yourself, Where can I keep one small promise today? Because every kept promise is a confidence deposit, and every broken one, even tiny, erodes trust. You don't need to do something big, you need to do something consistent. So lesson number 5 is this: stop trying to feel confident, start keeping promises to yourself. Okay, that brings us to lesson number 6. And this is the reframe that ties everything together. So here's the thing. I didn't become louder through TEDx preparation. I didn't become more extroverted. I didn't become someone else. I became more anchored. And that's because confidence isn't a personality trait that you're born with. It's an identity that you live into. Some of the most confident people that I know are quiet and measured and totally unshowy. What they all have in common is this: their actions are aligned with who they believe themselves to be. They're not trying to perform confidence. They're simply expressing coherence. And that's what changed for me. The more my behavior lined up with the identity of I'm someone who shows up prepared, I'm someone who follows through, I'm someone who trusts herself, the less that I needed to prove anything. Confidence stopped being something that I was reaching for and became something that I stood on. The most confident version of you isn't a character. It isn't louder. It isn't more impressive. It's you, undiluted. So bottom line here with this one, lesson 6, is that confidence is an identity, not a personality trait. Here's the truth. Training for TEDx didn't give me confidence. It reminded me that confidence is built when you stop abandoning yourself, when you stop waiting, stop negotiating, stop asking doubt for permission, and instead you move consistently and calmly and really on your own behalf. If this conversation resonated, then the next video that I would love for you to watch is called How to Reinvent Yourself, Feed Your Mind the Future You Want. It builds directly on all this stuff: identity, direction, and how what you consume quietly shapes who you become. You will find it linked on the next screen, and I will see you there. Confidence is not the starting point. Commitment is. No, that was a bit weird. When you act from identity, I'm the correct there's solid... Okay. Yep. Try again.